Yo, what's going on? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It means it's time for another live stream. Today is Thursday, May 8th, 2025. The date continues to just seem imaginary, some distant time into the future, but yet here we are. Today, I've got one pair of shoes to unbox and then another something to unbox. It's a little thing, something that I don't normally use, and I was going to try and confirm that they had actually talked to me beforehand before sending it. Although they had my address, or like the P.O. Box address, so they must have talked to me at some point. But you might have also seen some of your favorite people going to a place to go check out stuff from them. I don't remember if I was invited or not, or I think I maybe declined. I vaguely remember saying no to something from this brand. Anyway, we'll get to all that. But before we do, let's hi to everyone listening on the audio-only version of the podcast. Hopefully you guys are having a beautiful run today. Weather was gorgeous for running today. Even my P.O. Box guy was like, oh, you must be enjoying the weather now. And I'm like, I am. It's perfect. Some of my favorite running conditions. And, but it was super windy. So hopefully you got the nice weather without the wind. And I got to tell you another story about the P.O. Box place. But I also want to say hi to everyone listening on the later but not live. You're listening to the #1 drive time radio for people who may not be driving and are not listening to this on the radio, but it's about running. Hopefully that all made sense. But anyway, so I'm at the P.O. Box place, and the dog there is a retriever. There used to be an older retriever that used to just kind of take naps in the sunshine in the P.O. Box place. That dog passed a little while ago, and the P.O. Box place owner got a new dog, another retriever, and this dog recognizes me every time I come in. Normally, like, I'll come in, I'll say hi to the owner. We're friendly. We chit chat a little bit, a little small talk. It's the Midwest, so we're talking about how it's raining and we really needed it and stuff like that. And then if he hears my voice, I'll hear the dog all of a sudden start like pitter patter, and then the dog will come out. Or if he sees me and he's standing behind the counter, he'll come around the counter and come hang out. I love that dog. It's the best dog. Today, the dog was on his two hind legs and like just relaxing on the counter as if he worked there. It was the most adorable thing I've ever seen. And so I started petting the dog while the dog was like leaning up against the counter. And the dog did that thing where when you pet the dog puts their arm on you to say, stay there and keep petting me. It did that. It was pretty nice. It was a good day. That was pretty fun. That was a good start to my day. And then I had my workout, which actually worked out pretty good. It was tough, but I did it. All right. How's everyone else doing in the chat? I started doing a whole bunch of chatting. Andrew Scott says, Happy New Pope Day for those that celebrate. Yeah, I haven't been following it too close. I'm not Catholic, so it doesn't really affect me that much. But it is kind of an interesting procedure. I remember the last time that it was done. People were going crazy watching that smokestack. It was like a live cam on the smokestack. But the smoke billowed white today. So there's a new pope. He's from the Midwest, though. I did see that. The news outlet that broke it to me, two places broke the news to me. One was Asian Verified, the guy that does the fit check for your Asian grandfather at the mall. That guy, he posted something where basically the smoke was the colors of the Filipino flag, which was kind of funny. He's like, new pope's here. He's Asian. He's not Asian. Although I do think that there was a Filipino dude that was in the running. And then the other one, the one that actually said who the pope was Midwest versus Everybody. Midwest versus Everybody said there's a new pope and he's from the Midwest. We're going to call him Pope Ope. But yeah, congratulations to the Catholic people out there. I don't know if that's the right word, but it looks like you have a new pope. So Andrew Scott says it's Cardinal Robert Prevost. So yeah. Yeah. Mark says he's from Chicago. Oh, really? Do you think he's going to bring deep dish pizza over there? Now, how does that? I mean, I have no idea how it works. Is that cardinal over there? Is it like the Price is Right where they're like, yeah, and then they go and they talk to everybody, they address the other Cardinals that are voting? I don't know how that works. But Andrew Scott says that he's the new Pope's a Cubs fan, apparently. Do you think he'll come visit Chicago? Do you think the Pope will come to Wrigley Field? I can't imagine the security concerns with that. That'd be crazy. David Hamar says maybe he'll get an auto entry into the Chicago Marathon. That'd be something. You can never complain about an influencer bib again. You would be religiously prohibited from it. Johnny Johnson says, "What's the Pope's shoe choice? Diadora?" I would think, but didn't Pope Francis, wasn't he seen wearing a lot of, like, he would be wearing a lot of high fashion shoes, right, underneath the robes? So I don't know. Diadora does, I guess, make fashion shoes. On that, I feel like we need to get to the unboxing right away, because there's a lot that I want to talk to you that's actually related to that subject. So this is the Diadora knew that the new Pope was being selected. They wanted to send me a pair of shoes that they would be giving to the Pope. Just kidding. That's not true at all. But I did ask for another pair of shoes because I'm trying to finish my review of the Atomo Star. And I think I just need to see some more Diadora shoes for me to better understand where it fits. Let's just start unboxing this. Where's my knife? I don't know where my knife is. So I'm thinking about the Diadora Atomo Star. It's $240. It's not worth $240 from a running perspective. But I don't think it's purely a running shoe. And so, like, that's kind of where I wanted to see where some of the other shoes in the lineup kind of fit. Because I also just went to Japan, right? And in Japan, I went to Onitsuka Tiger store where they have shoes that look like running shoes, but they're not really running shoes. They're fashion shoes. They're luxury shoes, and they cost a lot. So I'm thinking, like, is that how I'm supposed to look at the Atomo Star? Except the Atomo Star is actually a shoe you can run in. Like, I'm not going to run in the Kill Bill Mexico 66s. No way. But should I be looking at the Atomo Star like I look at that shoe? That's kind of my main question. One of the shoes I had them send me was the Frequenza 2. Because I think this is more of their speed shoe. I just wanted to get a chance to look at this one. And it's a speed shoe that has the same foam, Animate N2, as the Atomo Star. Or at least nominally has the same foam. And it kind of feels the same too. Right? And so I don't know what the price is on this one, but this is like a regular priced shoe for Diadora. Diadora is a little bit more expensive, but this feels like very similar to the foam in the Atomo Star. So I'm going to say, like, what's this shoe? What is it priced? And then what are you paying for the premium upgrade? You know what I mean? Like the luxury upgrade. Right, so that's kind of like where my mind is going. So that's why I wanted to review this shoe, or see this shoe. And so I think it's a pretty nuanced take on the Atomo Star. Everyone else's takes are kind of straightforward. It's not worth $240. End of story. It smells not bad. I just had ramen noodles for lunch, so my sense of smell is not great today. But I think this shoe looks great. And it's very light. It's much lighter than it looks. We'll have to get this one on the scale in just a second. Pretty breathable. This plastic does not, it's a light smell, but it's a light kind of, like if it were a cheese, you would say, is this moldy or is it supposed to smell like that? That's kind of like, is this smell bad or does it just smell a little bit like plastic? I'm not sure. So that's kind of where I'm at with this shoe. There's a lot of puffiness in the back. Look at that. It's like a Nova Blast back here. a lot of puffiness. Nova, this is more puffy than the Nova Blast back here. But I think I'm really gonna like this. I have a feeling that this may be my favorite. I mean, the Atomo Star is my favorite Diadora. This might be up there too, though. Although I mean, these kind of, it's like Bears colors. There's more New York Knicks colors on here, but yeah. So that's the Atomo Star. So that's why not Atomo Star. Frequenza 2. Johnny Dodgen says, isn't one produced in Italy and the other one in Asia? Yes, the Atomo Star is produced in Italy, and then this one, I don't know where it's made. Does it say in here? Probably says somewhere inside here. I can't find it, but I'm certain that this one is not produced in Italy. So there's that element to it. But I think that like the shoes that they make in-house in Italy are of that like luxury line. You know what I mean? So like, trying to think of what other brands have that. I mean, I guess New Balance kind of has it with their Made in USA line, which was weird. So when we were in Japan, we went shopping in Harajuku, and in New Balance Harajuku, in New Balance Japan, there is an entire floor for New Balance Made in USA, which I thought was weird, but it makes sense. But yeah. Philip wants to know, while in Japan, did you see the new Asics Blast shoe with the plate? Pictures are leaking out. I did not see any other shoes other than the shoes that people have seen. Yeah. Jacob D says, the Diadora soccer boots were always so narrow, has always made me nervous buying a running shoe from them. I never tried any of their soccer boots. I'm not a soccer player. I think, no. My daughter has a pair of indoor soccer boots. Boots, is that the right word? Soccer boots from Lotto, the one, the diamond. That's actually made, I mean, they're not made, but the company's like down the street from Diadora, I think. But so I thought maybe she had Diadora soccer boots, but no, she doesn't. Sean Devlin has a shoe question. Oh boy, we haven't had a shoe question in a while. He says, if I have the Super Blast 2, is it worth getting the Nova Blast 5 or is it too similar? I could see very different uses for them. But I would probably say like there is so much overlap that I might go with the Evo SL instead. Because that one you could take for speed work, you know, or like an Endorphin Speed 4 or a Deviate Nitro 3. So something that's kind of in the daily / tempo range, because then there isn't as much overlap between the Super Blast 2. Calvin says that Mizuno also has a made in Japan line for some of their products. Their soccer cleats use more premium materials and are lasted for longer than a conventional pair to have more broken in fit. Yeah, so I feel like there's always like the premium line, right? And so the hard thing about the Atomo Star is that like it doesn't, maybe it's just that I don't know fashion, but it doesn't feel like a fashion shoe to me. You know what I mean? I know it's marketed that way. And so like it's kind of, for me, it's a little bit of an Emperor's New Clothes where it's like, this is the luxury line. And I'm just supposed to say, okay, so I'm willing to pay more for it. Or I should be okay with people getting them charging people more. You know what I mean? So I think I understand the positioning. I think there's problems with the execution that I'm finding confusing. That's kind of where my head is on the Atomo Star. I like where they're going. There's another shoe. Hold on. We should probably put this on the sheet too. But this is the V7002 or V72 that is also made in Italy, right? So it's got this, and I forget the word. Is Drew Whitcomb in here? Drew knows what the technical term is for this. Like There's a technical term for this thingy at the end of your shoelaces. It's an aglet. There's also a term for these charms that you put on your laces here. So this is also in the Made in Italy series, and it's very similar to another shoe that was in their road running line that they made a couple years ago that I don't think they make anymore. But this is kind of like the luxury and fashion version of it. And I think this makes more sense to me because this looks like it's a running shoe that is fashionable. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's my favorite color, black. And this shoe is like $300, $240, something like that. So it's like, yeah, you can run in it for sure. If you've got money like that, I guess. But it's really a shoe for wanting to express your running lifestyle in a luxury way. And I think that's what the Adamo Star is. It's a really good running shoe. It's not a $240 running shoe, but it's not just a running shoe. And I feel like if I have to spend that much time explaining it, it's missing the mark in execution. I feel like this V7 II hits the mark in execution much better than the Adamo Star does. But the Adamo Star is super fun because it's got the Anima N2 foam. But if you want to get into the Anima N2 foam, I think that this Frequenza 2 is going to be the way to get in. So now I feel like I have all the pieces that I need to be able to tell that Adamo Star story and make it make sense. That all being said, I think ultimately it's probably going to be, if I make that video, it'll be my least watched video of probably the first half of 2025, if not of all of 2025. I just don't think people are interested. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, would I be better off just making a story about the endorphin trainer? Like making a review, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's going to take me a while to make. So it's just, I don't know. JC says, is this a gibbets? Like, it's not a gibbets. That's a word I know because I got kids. You know, so it's not that. But where's Drew when you need him? Calvin says, I saw the V7000 on Sierra for like $70 a month ago for reference. LOL. But was it made in Italy? You know, that's the thing. Yeah. Stevie76 says, I heard Fashion Jogger speak for the first time in one of her reels, maybe branching out to the English-speaking audience. Maybe, or maybe she's, she speaks English really well. So it's not a language barrier kind of thing. But I feel like, who's that guy that, he may also be Italian, but it's KB or something like that, where people will like create like a life hack, air quotes, and then he'll just look at it and be like, are you serious? You can just hold it in your hand and it works just as well. You know, like he'll kind of like make fun of other people's life hacks. But he never talks. And like he has since been interviewed because he's like super famous now about it. And for him, it was like an English language barrier problem. But he also said like, I wanted to have international growth. And so I wanted to make videos where I didn't have to talk. And I think at that time when he started, it was probably before like people started super aggressively captioning everything. You know what drives me crazy? When there's captions, I can see why people do it because it definitely grabs attention, but it drives me nuts whenever I see it. When every single word does this flash effect when people are captioning their shorts. It drives me nuts. But anyway, so maybe, it's KB is starting to talk in some of his videos, I think. So maybe that's what's going on. But yeah, most of her stuff has been, I think, very intentionally relatable for an international audience. I think that's what it is. Calvin says that this shoe is $135 at Nordstrom Rack. This one, the V7 II, I'm guessing it's not selling. You know what I mean? So like there's the positioning, and then there's the the execution. Um, like for example, though, you know what's wild about it is so Asics used to sell a Mexico 66. I think, or and it's because the one I have, I think I got for like the Kill Bill shoe that I have, I got for like $110. If you try to buy it now, I guess that's inflation for you or whatever, because I bought it maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I definitely wore it around in Budapest. I think I had it definitely I think I got it for the Tokyo Trip Marathon. So at least 2 years ago, maybe three. And that shoe now, if you buy it from Onitsuka Tiger, I think it's more like 160, 180, something like that. There's also a Nippon made Onitsuka line. And the same shoe, it's much fancier. So it's not just exactly the same shoe, just made in Japan. There are different design flourishes to it. That one's like $350. So like there's levels of luxury that I don't understand and I don't know how to justify, defend, explain. But that's what's going on here. And I think at Nordstrom Rack, they don't know how to justify or explain it either. So they've marked down the shoe by a lot. So yeah. So I think that's how we got to where we're at on these, Alex Gonzalez says, "Hey, Kofuzi, just signed up for my first marathon in November. Congratulations. Any general tips? My goal is to hopefully get a BQ. Thanks." I'd say you got a lot of time between now and then. Keep that in mind that there's a lot of time. But also, like, if you're going for the BQ, you got to do a lot of training. Just remember that it's about weeks and months, not any single day. So like that's the same general advice I give to anyone, but I think it definitely applies to the BQ as well. I'm assuming you'll get a plan or maybe even a coach from someone, but that can help guide you more specifically. But weeks and months versus any single day. So think about it in the long term, which you already are because you just signed up now. But have fun. Have fun too. Yeah, Vanessa said that that Lisa had to have surgery to remove her appendix after the marathon. The passenger. I got a chance to talk to her quite a bit in Kenya, which was nice because I never really spent much time talking to her before. But we were running together, and then she dropped me, which was pretty funny. She dropped me hard too. So like we were running and we were talking about like how she's New York, I think was her first marathon. And then she wanted to get a BQ. She wanted to go sub 3. Did she not get a BQ before? Anyway, she wanted to go sub 3 for London. And like her training she looked fit, right? So like that run that we did, it was maybe like 7 or 8 miles on a quote unquote flat road in Kenya, which was really hilly, very hilly. And at one point I was, so we kind of like, everyone's kind of going their own paces, a little bit of yo-yoing, and we had done a lot of chatting on the way out. And then on the way back, we had separated at some point, and she was running with one of the Kip Run pros, and I was walking up the hill and they were coming up behind me. And they were like, "No walking allowed." And I was like, "Okay." So I tried to keep up with them. I kept up with them for like another 100 meters. And then like they just took off and I was gone. And I was like, well, now that they're gone, I can walk again. But on the day we ran on Moibin Road, I ran 13 miles. She put in 35K that day. And it was warm. It was warm and 7,000 feet. So she was pretty tired by the end of that, but she looked strong, So it stinks that works out that way. Corey says, "Yo, what's going on? Finally able to catch a live stream. What's going on, Cor? He's back from London. What a ride. Update on the Elite 2. Loved it for most of the marathon, but I feel like it lost its pop the last couple of miles." That's what I was worried about when I say I think it feels really efficient, but I think it might be a little bit too soft. But then again, lots of shoes kind of fade at the end of a marathon, so it wouldn't be the only shoe that has that problem. But I'm glad you had a good time, Corey. I'm glad you made it back safely. Mm. All right. Daniel Estrella says, "Hey, Coach, you think it's possible that certain race day shoes are too aggressive, unstable, that it makes your calf work harder, eventually causing cramps? 2 marathons now with cramps on the Alpha Fly 3s." I think certainly think it's possible that some are too aggressive could be too aggressive for a runner. I happen to have this on my desk right now, the Evo 1. I thought that was too aggressive for me. The way that I felt it was too aggressive is that it just felt like it hurt my feet. And that might, for you, causes cramps in your calves. And so, like, for me, this just felt like my feet would hurt too much if I were to run a full marathon in this. So I ran a half marathon in it, and I ran a PB, and it was great. But anything longer than that, something in my brain, back of my mind says, like, I don't know if I want to do that. And so I certainly think it's possible that some shoes could be too aggressive, or they could just be the wrong style for a person. And I feel like I'm onto something here, as I've been dividing shoes into kind of like basically edge and sky, heel striker shoes and forefoot striker shoes. Heel striker shoes being like a Vaporfly 3, forefoot striker shoe being like an Alpha Fly 3. Now, I feel like they're tweaking the Alpha Fly to make it more of a midfoot striker shoe. And I think the prime example of a midfoot striker shoe would be like the CLO X1 2.0, the worst name ever. But this I feel like, is more of a midfoot striker shoe. It's designed to land in the middle and then roll really quickly. You could tell because it has the most aggressive rocker, and the toe spring makes the shoe very, very narrow up front, and maybe makes it feel too narrow up front for a forefoot striker. But so I think there's like those three. I was just listening today to a YouTube video that Steve Magnus had put out about like, are carbon plated shoes worth it? And he's like, yes, absolutely. That being said, there are different levels of response that people can have to them, and we're not sure why. And I'm like, I have a pretty good idea why. I think that some people respond to them more than others because they're in the right shoe. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when they have like medications and they're like, yeah, we don't know why these different populations of people, why some people really respond well to a medication and some people don't. Some people have a lot of side effects, some people don't. There's probably some genetic correlation on some level that you could figure out if you just did the right kind of study and analysis on it. It's not random. And so I think that that's my hypothesis, is that for some people respond better or worse to shoes because it's the right or wrong type of marathon shoe for them. And then on top of that is some shoes could just be a little too aggressive. Like I think the Evo 1 is too aggressive. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. I don't know which one it is for you, Daniel, but I feel like you've definitely identified something that shoe is not working for you on the marathon level. So what's hard is that is a shoe that I generally find to be pretty recommendable to a lot of people. And so like, I would say in terms of finding your next marathon shoe, it really comes down to what are some daily trainers that you really like, and that can kind of help figure out where to go next. If your favorite daily trainer is like a Brooks Ghost over, say, a Nova Blast, then I would say maybe look at a Vaporfly or a Metaspeed Edge. But if your favorite daily trainer is more like a Nova Blast or an Evo SL, then I would say like maybe you need something that's a little less midfoot and more forefoot. So it could just depend on that. But it might just be too aggressive for you too. Matt's here. He says, yo, what's going on? What's going on, Matt? How are you? How's the Pacific Northwest? I think the weather's pretty good up there for running this time of year, right? Oh, Matt says, triathlon with my 10-year-old on Saturday. That's fun. I'm assuming it's not. What distance is it? I don't want to assume. If it's Matt Legrand's kid. I don't know. Is it a 70.3? Probably not for a 10-year-old. Well, that's cool. That's fun. For my older daughter, we've been having a lot She had a really good meet yesterday. She PR'd in the mile. We run a 1600 in Illinois. And then she had some real. It was an invitational meet, so there was some real good kids for her to run against. And oh my God, she had the best. She had like a dream moment. So there was a girl that had on paper was faster than her, and on the last lap, coming down the home stretch, this is something that we visualized before. Coming off someone's shoulder right on the last turn, and then out kicking them down the home stretch to the finish. She did that. And it surprised the girl. The girl responded with about 50 meters to go, and they were like shoulder to shoulder. And then my daughter had a second kick. It was amazing to see. Proud dad moment for sure. And afterwards, she's like, "Dad, I think I really like racing." And I'm like, "That's awesome." She's like, "Did you like racing?" I'm like, "I was never fast enough to really race people. I was always time trialing. But I'm glad that you like racing. It looked really exciting." And then for after dinner, we spent the evening running YouTube together, which was really fun. Her favorites right now, I don't want to embarrass her, but maybe I'll tell you guys later. But we had some fun. There's a couple of accounts that I really like, and you guys know who those are, that we were watching together. So that was fun. I hope you get some fun moments with your 10-year-old Saturday. Good luck. Good luck to him. Or her. I guess it just says my 10-year-old. It doesn't say son. It could be son or daughter. And I have Girls on the Run coming up in a couple weeks with my 8-year-old. So we're really excited about that. We did the practice 5K the other day, and that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of run walk. And that's fine. I enjoyed it either way. And I think she enjoyed it too. Martha wants to know what's the elevation we were in Kenya. The elevation was generally in the 7,000s. E10, I think the camp we were at was I think E10 is like 7,600 feet. So I guess not as high as Mammoth. But it was higher than Boulder, but it felt nice. I guess it's like 7,600. Isn't that how like high Mags is? So if you drive up to Mags, that's about what it is. But it's humid, so I feel like there's just something more for your lungs to grab onto. So it doesn't feel as oxygen deprived as it is. Yeah. And then we went down into the Rift Valley for like an hour. And at like 5,000 feet, the temperature, I mean, it's the equator of the earth is where we were at. It was so hot. It was some of the hottest I've ever been. It was crazy how different the temperature was. It was pleasant at 7,600 feet. But at 5,000 something feet, I was melting. It was wild. I couldn't believe it. Jacob D says, I ran Flying Pig Sunday and was hurt doing it, but finished. My dad took off my shoes for me as I was sitting down and asked me what I wanted to do with them. And I told him to throw them away. Well, congratulations on the finish, though. Hopefully you're not hurt too bad. Hopefully maybe just the shoes were bothering you. I need to hear that. What shoes were they? That's what I gotta know. Stevie76 says, I got black toes running the Adios Pro 4. Could they design 4-foot rockers to be too aggressive? Others have reported the same issue. They could. It's possible. I feel like Hoka makes some of the most aggressive ones. But yeah, some people, because like when you look at them, it looks like your toes would have to sit like curled up in like if you're in a resting position, which is not how you're using a race shoe, but it causes some people concern when they look at the pictures. So yeah, I think the Puma Fast R3 toe spring, the rocker is one thing, toe spring is another, but I do tend to conflate the two terms. But the toe spring is pretty aggressive on the Fast R3 as well, but it feels normal to me. I don't know. The guy says, almost bonked my first half because my shoes were way too aggressive and I started cramping. Oh, that's tough. And Wojtek's here. He says, yo, what's going on, everyone? Good to see you, man. Super Ninja says, Steve Magnus is one of my favorite people on social media. I like his videos a lot. I just feel like, I mean, I think he's mentioned before that he doesn't love social media, but he just passed 25,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is great. Congratulations to him on that. But I just feel like he must look at social media all the time and just pull his hair out. I just feel like he's exacerbated by it sometimes. In a way that I think is funny, but is probably very stressful for him. Daniel says, so I've been using the 1080 version 13s, Endorphin Speed 3s, Nimbus 25, and I've been training in the Adios Pro 3 and Endo Pro 3. Never cramped in training with long runs with 21 miles, but cramped both races at 30K, and that's in the Alpha Fly 3, right? Okay. It's interesting that you like the Adios Pro 3, though. I wouldn't put those together as if you're having problems with the Alpha Fly 3. I would recommend running in the Endorphin Pro 3 for your next one. I think that one lines up better with the other shoes that you've mentioned. Matty Mac says, New Balance is changing their design language again with the SC Elite version 5. Has any shoe seen so much change over the years? The only one that's has seen more change would be the Rebel. Do you guys remember the first Rebel? It had that weird side thing on the foot. Do you guys remember that? And then the Rebel 2 with the habanero colorway. I never had the habanero, but look at this one. It kind of still has the vestigial kind of protuberance that the Rebel 1 had. And so this one looked completely, maybe not completely, very different than the Rebel 1. And then we had the Rebel 3, which looked, I guess it had an Achilles flare, is what it had in similar. But otherwise, it looked very different. And then Rebel 4, right? I mean, the Rebel is the only one that had made more change. But if you think about the SC Elite version 5, number 1, it wasn't even always called the SC Elite. It started out with RC Elite number 1. And do you guys remember the outsole on that? It had those plastic little triangle nubby things on there, which I loved. But New Balance told me that it's just very expensive to make that kind of outsole. Then we had the RC Elite 2, which was completely different than the RC Elite 1. SC Elite 3 went to knit, and it was kind of similar to the RC Elite 2. Then we had SC Elite 4 with the low poly design, which I think looks great. I just wish I liked the shoe more. And then SC Elite 5, again, changes it up. I mean, I guess I haven't looked at it too closely. I kind of thought it looked pretty similar. It kind of looked like if you put an SC Elite 4 with RC Elite 2 badging, is what I thought the SC Elite 5 looked like. I don't know if that makes sense to people. And Matt says, yeah, it's a sprint try for his son. 500-meter pool swim. As a swimmer. 12-mile bike and a 5K run. That's a lot. That's a lot of work in one day. But I guess if the swimming part's easy, then, you know, kids are good swimmers, aren't they? Most kids. My younger daughter is like a fish. Both of my kids were really good swimmers. Neither of them really like it all that much. But they're both pretty good swimmers. My older daughter, they kept trying to get her to join a swim team, and she doesn't want to. And my younger daughter, they keep telling her, like, all right, there's not a lot of swim classes left for you to take. After that, it's swim team. And she's like, nope, I'll just stop taking lessons then. I don't know why they don't want to join swim team. I'm kind of glad because I've heard those meets get real long. My nieces and nephews, they all swam growing up. Not all of them, but some of them, one family. They were all swimmers. And like my sister-in-law would tell me that she would just be in these humid pools for like 9 hours a day for these swim meets. So I'm glad I dodged that bullet. Johnny Dodgers wants to know, has your daughter running the Adios 9 on the track? How does she like it? She likes it a lot, but she prefers her spikes. So I I guess I'll tell you a little bit more. So I ended up buying her on spikes. We went to a running store. I think we went to Dick Pond Athletics. Yeah, I think that's in Arlington Heights. So we went there. It's a really big running store, and they had a pretty wide selection of spikes, but they were basically all Nike spikes. So I didn't get her any of those. And I was looking at some other. I think did I order them from Fleet Feet? I don't remember where I ordered them from. But I ended up getting her the On spikes because the middle school girls, they all love On. And so she has the Cloud Surfer 2s as her daily trainer. So I felt like, let's get her the On spikes. And she absolutely loves them. And then one of the YouTubers that we enjoy watching together is Mika Rivera Wood. And Mika also frequently wears On spikes. And so I feel like that's maybe one of the reasons. Also, when I met Mika in real life, like they reminded me of each other. I mean, Mika didn't remind me of a 13-year-old, but like she's an adult. But like there's some elements of the personality where I felt like it could be two peas in a pod. So it makes sense that my younger daughter is drawn to her videos. I was trying to show her a variety of stuff, and she's like, "Can we watch another Mika one instead?" And I was like, "Okay, you're fine." But she likes her Adios 9. We had one track meet on a concrete track. It was a middle school, and middle school. I guess concrete tracks are not that uncommon in this region, because there's another middle school that has a 400-meter track that is much closer, right by Crystal Lake, the lake of Crystal Lake, in the town of Crystal Lake. And yeah, so that's another one that has a concrete track or a blacktop tarmac, I think is what Brits call it. And so she couldn't run in her On spikes that day, and she raced in the Adios 9. And then she uses them for workouts because they do have a track surface track at her middle school, but it's 200 meters. And so I think frequently, the coach will have the sprinters on the track, and then the distance runner. There's a walking path around the campus of the school, but that's tarmac. So she'll use the Adios 9 for that. I think it was a good choice for her. Yeah. Stevie76 says, "Do you bring your camera and film your daughter's races?" I bring my camera, but I only take pictures. Basically, like then it just gives me more. If I took video, it'd be more work for me. And I interact with the race differently. I'm more of a media person than a parent than if I'm filming. And then if I just take pictures, what she really wants to be able to do is kind of look at herself and then also show her friends the pictures. And so I just take pictures has ended up being the kind of the right way to commemorate the moments. So that's what we do. All right, let me scroll. Oh man, I'm not that far. Okay, I thought I was really far down. I'm not that far down. Matt says, it's odd that kids basically need to pick between swim and other sports like soccer or running at that age. Like 8 to 10, I guess. All three of my boys are swimmers, and I can't get them to run. I just think swimming is a sport that takes a long time. You know? Whose interview was I listening to? That they're a runner, but they grew up as a swimmer. And they would say that they would be doing doubles from like before high school, which I'm like, I get it. That's how swimming works. And that's how you get to be good at swimming. That's what it takes. But I'm like, that's a lot of time. A lot of time with your hair in the chlorine, I guess. You know? Daniel Brent wants to know, what was her mile time? She ran a 5:52. So I think her PR was 5:59. And the other girls, so she's in 7th grade, but they ran her in the 8th grade race. So she was running against two faster girls. One girl from Byron, which is where my wife's godmother lives. My mother-in-law's closest sibling. They call each other like every day. But they live in Byron, which is a suburb of Rockford, and then a town called Winnebago. which I don't think is. I think there must be. I think there's more than one Winnebago. I don't think it's the town that the Winnebago is from. I don't think they make them there, but it's the same word. But I think those schools are pretty big, but because both of those schools, they're all both suburbs of Rockford. If suburb of Rockford is a word that even makes sense. But yeah, they had some fast kids on the girls and boys side. So I think that the other girls may have had faster PRs than her, but she ran a kind of a goofy race, and I think it threw them off. So it was really windy, and so on the windy backstretch, she would slam on the brakes, and she kept trying to get someone else to go around. But then she would surge on the home stretch when she had the tailwind, and so she would always go in. She'd be in the lead every lap going into the backstretch, and then she'd slam on the brakes and change the pace by a lot. And so I kept seeing like this pack yo-yo the whole race, and I was like, what is she doing? And I'm like, oh, she's trying. I told her to duck behind someone if it feels windy on that backstretch. So she's listening to me too much, I think. But yeah, she ended up running a 5:52. And after we're walking back to the car after the meet, and she's like, Dad, am I faster than you? I'm like, I think I can run faster than a 5:52. I just ran a 5K in Tokyo at like 6:15s for a 5K, and I think I could. I think I could get. If it was just 1 mile that I had to run, I think I could beat that. And she's like, but you're faster than I was at your age for sure, by a lot. I'm not sure about how much, but definitely by a lot. She's like, okay, soon I'm going to be faster than you. I'm like, I don't doubt that, but not today. Juliana VB says, same with my boys. I love swimming and had my boys 11 and 7 to learn how to swim well, which they did, but they don't want to continue. Oh, well. I think it's fine. I take a lot of lessons from my younger daughter. She enjoys things to enjoy them, and she's not concerned about like getting to like travel team level or getting much better. She has things that she likes, but if she's not like super into something, like gymnastics, she's not super into. But she has friends that are there. She likes going. She participates. She tries. But she just doesn't want to go to like more gymnastic lessons. Like once a week is plenty for her. And we even have her skip a lot of days. And she's pretty good with it. You know? So she's very zen about things. And I'm trying to like approach more things in my life with that same energy of like, it's okay that I'm not better at this. Although I guess maybe she did get it from me, because that's how I feel about, I guess, a lot of things. Like our lawn. I don't really care to make it. It looks okay. It's not great. My ability to take care of the cars, I'm not the best at it. I have a good mechanic that I have a texting relation, not with their personal. There's like a mechanic's text line that I could be like, hey, the car light is on. Can I bring it in? Which if I had to call, I'd never do that. So I have a mechanic that gets me, I guess. But I don't care about having like the super well maintained car. I just don't have the attention span for it, I guess. So maybe she did get it from me, but I learned from her, you know. Stevie76 says, when my son beat me in a game of horse, I felt so old. My kids don't really like basketball. My daughter played basketball for, I guess, a year, 2 years. And then this year she decided that she'd rather focus on her rock climbing and her track. Super Njit says, when she's finally faster than you, it'll be bittersweet because she'll realize you're getting old. No, she's just getting really fast. I am getting old, but she's getting really fast. And I think I'm learning from, I talked to Sarah Vaughn about it because her daughter is a Division I athlete at NAU. And I was like, who's faster? And she goes, it depends on the distance. So I'm going to go with the same thing where it's like, you're faster at me at the mile now, but I could still beat you in a 10 mile since you've never run 10 miles, you know? Yeah. Terry says, I've let half my lawn return to meadow. It's fabulous. So much wildlife. I wish we could do that. I don't think that I live in like a subdivision, so there's an HOA. I think it would be against the rules. Although if I let it go back to natural local wildlife, I think that's protected by state law. Either way, I don't want to piss off the neighbors. Because as it is, we have a lot of weeds in our lawn, and all of my neighbors do not. So it's a very stark contrast to like when you see my lot. And then I just know that they're annoyed because the weeds in my lawn, I think, are propagating and making them have to work harder to maintain their lawns. So that's my main thing in terms of keeping up the lawn, is to make the neighbors not mad. And even then, I'm gone so much, my wife has taken over. I think I mowed the lawn once last year. Maybe twice, but probably not. So like it's just for neither of us it's a priority. But I'm kind of hoping that my wife ends up liking mowing the lawn, because her mom loves mowing the lawn. She takes great pride in it and she enjoys it. But rural Iowa, maintaining the lawn is like a sport. It's very different. I guess it's probably the same here too. I don't know. Paul Pollock says, my son took the family park run record last year. Haven't reclaimed it yet. Slightly longer though, and I still win. Yeah, so you just got to change the distance on the kids, you know? Jacob D says, our 10-year-old just surpassed my wife in height. It was a big deal. Oh. My older daughter is, I think, going to be pretty short. I don't know if she'll get taller than my wife. My younger daughter, though, she's definitely going to be taller than my wife. She's sprouting like a weed. Speaking of weeds. Martha says I should plant a lot of milkweed and create a monarch butterfly stop off. So there's this like kind of I guess it's called a common area of the subdivision behind our house. So there's like this strip of land that it's usually like wildflowers and stuff, just native plants. And I'm really debating just like getting a pack of like a mixed pack of seeds from like the nursery, and just like throwing and hucking a whole bunch of them back there and see what stays. I mean, it does flower pretty nice already. It's one of my favorite things about the house. So I kind of like that. So I guess I get a little bit of wildflowerness. But like the thing that's bad about that is that we have so many bugs, and also rodents. They're not in the house as far as I know, but they definitely, it's a vibrant ecosystem back there. For sure. Terry says, a homeowners association, an Englishman's home is his castle. Yeah, we have different property rules over here. Yeah, Sean says you just got to get a lawn care company and a landscaper. Maybe we might. Richard Wilson says, my wife landscaped our front yard with native California plants. No mowing, little water. It looks great. See, I like that. I like that a lot, you know. I just think that we already kind of stick out in this neighborhood. I feel like we got to do a better job of assimilating in some ways. You know, I'm not passionate about the lawn either way, you know. So I feel like that's not a battle I'm going to fight. But I do like that it's low water. Sounds great, you know. Andrew Scott says, cutting the grass and having a cold one after is a great active recovery routine. That is really nice, though. I will admit to that. I do enjoy that part. Sean says, maybe just buy goats, Kafuzi. I don't know if the town of Crystal Lake would approve of that. I don't think I could do that. Shannon says that the Hoka Festival of Miles is in less than a month here in STL. High school girls mile record was set there last year. It's so fun to spectate. Colin Quigley is running. I keep wanting to go to that, but I always have a conflict every year, it seems. This year I'll be in New York for that Run 5K, First to Fast 5K. It's the same weekend. All right, let's get these shoes weighed before I forget. I'm actually really looking forward to this Frequenza now that I have it in hand, though. I think it'll be a pretty fun shoe. I gotta get this thing off, and then we'll also do this V7000 or V72, because why not? This one kind of smells like bathroom soap, like in a gas station bathroom, but not as strong as maybe a nicer public bathroom, like the bathroom in an airport or maybe like a hotel lobby. This one I don't smell the cheese anymore. It just smells like plastic. I don't know what happened. Anyway, all right, let's get the shoe sheet up here. Okay. All right, we got to scroll all the way down. First, I got to take off all the highlighting. Okay, we got 2 Diadoras. They're all going to be 0 miles. Right, size 9 and road. These are both size 9, right? I got to double check. Man, I'm getting so old. Can't see. Yeah, they're both size 9s. Okay. All right. Let's do the Frequenza 2 first. Okay. It's lighter than it looks, but I guess it's not that light. But if it's like a daily trainer, yeah, it's light for a daily trainer. Or I guess a tempo shoe. This was an 8.0 ounces and 228 grams. And then we got the V72. I think it's the V7002, but it says V72 on the bottom of the shoe here. So I'm just going to call it V72. Interesting. Okay. All right, so this one comes in at 9.4 ounces. It's a little heavier than I was expecting based on what it feels like, but I guess that makes sense. And then 266 grams. So we've got 2 more shoes in here. Nothing too surprising, I guess. And then let's get it sorted. Data, sort sheet. And this is, so the V72 is same weight as, oh, it's about the same weight as the Nitro 3. Lighter than, about the same weight as Velocity Nitro 3 and the Supernova Rise 2. About the same weight as the Deviate Nitro 3 as well. Actually lighter by 2 grams. Interesting. Okay. And then the Frequenza, same weight as the Spectre 2 or the Evo SL. Okay. Pretty nice. So it is pretty light. Okay. Yeah. Eric says 8 ounces, not bad. Yeah. Not bad. He says blurry. Sorry, it was blurry. Yeah, these are fashion weights. Yeah, they haven't eaten all day, I guess. All right. That's going to be it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll have another live stream on... Oh, I didn't even get to my snacks. Guys, I got snacks. We'll do one of these on Monday. I got these at the Konbini in Japan. I was going to eat them just as snacks, but I didn't end up eating them, so I brought them home. So we'll try those on Monday. Over the weekend, it's going to be Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Hope you get to have a nice, fun run. I hope everyone gets to have a nice, fun run, but the mothers especially. And I'll see you guys on Monday. All right, guys? Thanks, everyone. Bye.